Today is February 19th, 2025. My name is Bobby Goodman, and I am interviewing Mark Stoller about his days at the Columbian Club. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited. So, Mark, let me just start off. Tell us a little bit about when you were a member of the Columbia. When did you join, or how did
We moved to Dallas from Wichita Falls in 1963, day after Kennedy was assassinated, actually. And we joined Brookhaven. And we were members of Brookhaven for probably a year. And then my father decided to join the Columbian Club. At that time, if you were a member, if you were a son or a son-in-law of a member, you could join for $500. And my grandfather was a member, so my father joined. And my youth was spent at the Columbian Club every summer. My mother would drop me off in the morning, and my father would pick me up on his way home from work in the afternoon. After a couple of months, he started getting bills for all my hamburgers and golf and ice cream, and kind of put a kibosh on that. But my summers as a child were spent at the club, playing golf, swimming. All my friends were there because our parents were all friends, and they were all out there. So it was.
So I want to go back for a second. You mentioned something very interesting, that your grandfather was a member. Do you remember when that may have been? Do you recall the dates?
I don't. I would say probably late 50s, probably late 50s. I think the club started in 1950 or 58 or
53 or 4.
something.
Right.
I think because my grandparents lived in Wichita Falls as well.
Oh.
And then when he moved here, he joined, and then we moved here.
What was his name?
Nat Levine.
Nat Levine.
Nat Levine. He used to call bingo.
Awesome. So what did the membership look like back in the days when you were a kid, and then we'll move into what it looked like more
When
like
I was a
were they
kid, I
older?
really didn't understand, member, not a member. I just knew my family was there, and all our family's friends were all there, and I was probably too young to understand what a membership was. I just knew, we always heard we were going to the club to eat, we were going to the club to play bingo, we were going to the club to swim, and that's what my childhood remembering of my fondest memories.
And you as a child growing up there, probably everybody seemed older because you were just a child, but
Right.
when you became a member, were the membership made up of more senior people, or were there people your age?
When I became a member, it was starting, my age group were starting to join. We were home from college, and we were starting to join because our parents were members.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like just the thing to do to join the club. And again, it was the same thing. If you were a son or a son-in-law, you could join for very inexpensive. And it just, my contemporaries and the people I grew up with were all members of the club. I just thought it was what you're supposed to do. And then I joined after college and was a member for quite a long time, and then got into the real world and realized I couldn't afford it and had to go to work, and parents weren't paying for it anymore. So.
And how long do you think you were a member yourself?
I was a member myself probably for 7 or 8 years, and then I got married there, and my wedding was there, and my sister's weddings were both there.
Wow.
So.
Do you recall, Mark, the process you had to go? I mean, I know you said you were legacy, you only had to pay half, but do you remember the process? Did you have to meet with anybody?
I don't remember having to meet with anyone. I think you were grandfathered in. If you were a son or a son-in-law, all you had to do was sign some papers, and you became a member.
Got it. You had to have an application of some
Had to have an application, but I don't remember the process.
Got it. So do you think, and this will be kind of family, which is hard to speak for them, but you may have some thoughts on it, and yourself, do you think anti-Semitism factored in at all of your family joining or yours? Did you feel anything?
I didn't feel any. I don't know if my parents did or not. I just knew there were some Jewish families at Brookhaven, not many, but a few. And by the time my father, our family joined, they also had joined the club as well. So it seemed to me that most Jewish people who wanted the country club experience were members of the Columbian Club. Brookhaven was really the only other club in the area or the club I'd ever heard of.
Got it. So, your relation, while you were a member, obviously not when you were, your relationship with the club, were there committees, or did the younger members have much to say with it about anything?
I don't think the younger members really were involved at all in the committees. It was all our parents or our grandparents, because there were a lot of times there were grandparents were a big part of the happenings at the club.
Got it. So let's talk a little about how important the club was. Let's start off with how the importance of the club to you, Mark.
The importance of the club to me was just to be with my friends, to be with my family, to be with my parents. The food was fantastic, so I can remember we ate at the club a couple of nights a week. I know there was always a fried chicken night, or there was this night or that night, but the food was so incredibly good. It wasn't out of the question for a lot of families to, let's just go to the club and eat. And we would go there for breakfast, we'd go for lunch, we'd go for dinner. It was a lot of fun. It was a big part of my growing up, and I miss it.
So I'm hearing a lot of eating there. So I'm just curious, what was your favorite item on the menu?
Egg salad sandwich on rye for lunch was my favorite. They had the best Thousand Island dressing. Mr. Osborne, who I remember, who ran the club, ran it pretty tightly. I mean, he was pretty strict about how many times kids could come, how many times you couldn't come. But one thing was the food was always great.
So how about the importance of the club to your family, I guess your folks, or maybe any siblings?
My parents entertained at the club a lot. They went to a lot of parties at the club. It seemed like the men played poker at the club, the women played cards at the club. There were games in the afternoon for the women. There were can remember some pretty big poker games at the club. From the older gentlemen, there were some big games, but just being at the club seemed to be the fun thing to do.
Did you have other family members that were members of the club?
Yes, my father's brother, Stoller, was a member of the club. His son, Joe, was a member of the club. Not really any other than my grandparents and aunts and uncles. A lot of my parents' friends I considered aunts and uncles, and that's what I called them. So they were everybody. Seemed like no one we knew wasn't a member, I guess would be the easiest thing to say.
And let's talk about friends. Did you have a lot of friends from the club? Did you make a lot of friends from the club?
I pretty much grew up with everybody at the club, so my friends outside the club were also in the club. I played your previous interview with Mark Friedman was one of my oldest friends, and we grew up together at the club, getting in a lot of trouble and messing around with the people who worked there. There were nights where we had bar mitzvah parties or other kind of parties, and we were out on the golf course walking around, and it was just a fun thing to do. And it seemed, because it was kind of out of our normal neighborhood, it was kind of like you had to drive a long way to get to the club. It seemed like you had to drive a long way.
So talking about friends, I don't know, it seems kind of fun. Rattle off, a few more names and tell me, are you still in contact with them from your days at the Columbian Club?
Keith Budner, Steve Friedman, Mark Friedman, Scott Robbins, you. I can't remember offhand, but it seemed like most of my childhood friends were at the club.
Still in contact with all of them?
Still in contact with all of them.
Very, very cool. So what are some of the activities that you and your family participated?
Usually Thursday night was fried chicken night along with bingo. My grandfather called bingo for many, many years at the club. And it was a lot of fun. We would always go buy the cards, as many cards as you could. And we would sit and have dinner and play bingo. It was a very inexpensive way to spend a Thursday evening and not get in any trouble.
Any other activities? You play golf out there?
Play golf as much as I could. Play golf often. Back then, life seemed to be a little bit easier back then. It just seemed like if we wanted to play golf, we went and played golf. There wasn't any, you didn't have to wait, you didn't have to make a tee time. It just seemed like it was just, the club was always open and everybody was always there to help.
What other activities other than golf were there? Could you play?
I never played, I really didn't play tennis then.
But you could?
I could have played tennis. They had a beautiful indoor court. I played a few times, but tennis just wasn't, there weren't a lot of players. And I think when they built the indoor courts, it was probably not a good idea because I don't think they were ever utilized like they should have been. I think they would have been better to spend more money in the club.
What other activities there could you do?
There seemed to be a lot of dances there. There were a lot of weddings, a lot of bar mitzvahs. So the club, no one really went to hotels or to, the club seemed to be the place that everybody had whatever the party was. It just seemed, it was just we called it the club. We didn't call it the Columbian Club. To us, it was, we're going to club.
Very interesting.
And it was just, had the railroad tracks. We always had to wait for the train when we went to the club, seemed like. But it was just some place to go.
And have any memories? I keep hearing over and over about this little room, this game room. Tell us a little bit about that.
There was a game room with pinball machines, and it seemed, at first, I think it was a place for our parents to stick us, so we wouldn't be involved in their parties. But the game room, as we got older, went from a game room more to a makeout room when we were teenagers. And there just always seemed to be a lot of action in the game room.
So tell me, from your memory, give me maybe one or two of your most favorite memories of being at the club.
One of my favorite memories, obviously, was probably playing golf and being real friendly with the shoe shine guy, Norris Pratt. A lot of stories about Norris. The more he drank, the better he played. The more he drank, the more money we lost. And it just seemed to be, our parents didn't feel like we needed to be hanging around Norris because our language would get bad, and it probably wasn't a good influence on us as youngsters.
That's awesome. Mark, do you have any thoughts about why you think maybe the Columbian Club ended up closing?
That's a great question. A lot of people were upset when the club went from the Columbian Club, and then it went to some new hands of some older members who decided to buy out the club, from what I understand. And it just seemed to progress. There never seemed to be enough money, and there never seemed to be enough cohesion and agreement with the parties at hand to make the club, to keep the club like it was when we were young.
So do you think if the Columbian Club could be successful if it was to return today, do you think it would be viable?
I think there's enough of a Jewish population in town. Since Dallas has grown so much and everything has gone north, I think the club could probably be successful again as a Jewish club. I do. I think if it was run right, if you had a location and a golf course and enough money to start with, I think the club could be a Jewish country club could be a viable option in Dallas.
What about, have you heard or gone to the new Columbian Club?
I have not. I have never been to the new club. I was at one time when it was the Honors Club before they redid the golf course and the clubhouse. I have not been to Merido since it opened.
And what about the new I don't know.
The bar, the Columbian Club, I have not. I understand it's doing well. I understand it's crowded. I haven't been there. I know some people who've gone and have drinks there, but Robin and I have not gone.
Got it. Mark, anything that you would like to share with us about your memories or anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to add?
I can't think of anything. I think all of us are members of a club someplace now, the guys that play golf and the families, and I would really like to see a Jewish country club in Dallas again. I think it would be a great meeting place, and just, I think it would be very advantageous. I think it would be like the JCC, but a country club. That's what I would like to see.
Awesome. One last question. If somebody mentions the word Columbian Club to you, what's the first thoughts that come through your mind?
Swimming at the Columbian Club as a child, going off the high board, just seemed like it was just our place. It was our parents took us there. It was safe. It was just seemed like our place to be when we were children, and I wish we could have it again.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Bobby.